So I was about to say that it's been a while since I shared with you. Today, we're going to talk about leadership. It's a topic, the topic of today is about communication and communication in timeless leadership. These are some principles that I've gathered, and sometimes I look at leadership uh, bring themselves down fiercely through what they say, through what we say in various positions. And that's quite sad. And uh, I intended that we could read a section from the book, The Making of a Symphony Orchestra. Apparently, I'm discovering that majority of you, all the people I reached, don't have their copies wherever they are, moved wherever, gave it to somebody, their country, wherever. Now, allow me to just say that what comes to your mind when we talk of timeless? What comes to your mind when we talk of timeless? You can put it in the chat, or you can raise up your hand and say something. What comes to your mind when we talk of timeless leadership? What is it that comes to your mind? Yes. Anybody?
Morning, everyone.
It's going on. Yes, Susan.
Timeless to me means that era doesn't interfere with it. Like, for example, it's something that doesn't change, that now we are in the new era. Now it doesn't apply. It's static.
Yes. Yes, it doesn't change with regime, that now we are in the regime of Kanu, now we are in the regime of whoever. It is ever there. It is for every season, like Christian is telling us. It doesn't depend on who is in power. It doesn't depend on age. It's ageless, and that is generally what we mean. Most leaders, and in fact, almost every leader, including just every parent, would always want their names to be immortalized, to stay forever. Actually, this reminds me uh, uh, about this book called the how to make friends and influence people, something like that, by Dale Carnegie, where he talks about a story of a guy called Silly, who wanted his name to be perpetuated, but there was nobody. He went to his grandchild, because his child didn't want to do it, and even the grandchild didn't want to do it because that name didn't sound very well. It's Silly. So he offered his estate, a multi-million dollar estate, for the grandson if he would only accept to use his name. But we don't have to go through that extent. It is through the little things that we do. If we pick a mission that we can follow and make a world a better place, and communication plays a very critical role when it comes to that. It's the only tool with which leaders can influence and cause action. If you're going to have some timeless effect, then it means you've created an impact. And creating that impact will always depend on people. It's not your individual work. So it's important that we get to understand what is it that we are supposed to do, or how can we use communication in a way that will mobilize action. I'd like us to start by a phrase. If you have this book, The Making of a Symphony Orchestra, there is the page on 144 under communication. It's just a short one. It says, you cannot lead if you cannot communicate. How will people know where you are leading them to? This is an area you want to consider carefully. Agreed, you may not be so gifted that you can move everyone, but you can learn to do it, or better still, get someone to assist you. Moses got Aaron, his brother, to help in this docket. A leader must communicate the vision and inspire conviction. It will be helpful to sharpen your public speaking skills and even be able to fluently read the speech written for you. So take communication seriously. In today's world, you must, as a leader, find a strategy to communicate with your people. That includes using all the media. Yes, social media platforms as well. Language proficiency matters here. Nothing is as embarrassing as breaking the rules of communication before an audience. You may not be embarrassed yourself because you have no idea, but your team will, and some members will quit being with you. There is a quote by Lila Cocker that says, you can have brilliant ideas, but if you can't get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. The next part says the word becomes flesh, which is relatively long. I won't read, but a part of it, which is a quote from Confucius, says, without knowing the force of words, it is impossible to know more. It is impossible to know more. The force of words. Yes. So I will go to some section at the end if we get some time. But it's good for us to know that today, in everything we do, there is a possibility that we are communicating something more than before. Long time ago, it had to be either you wrote it somewhere because audio visual was not very popular. Today, you never know how quickly you will be found on TikTok. Somebody else will put you there. How you will be put on memes or memes. Yes, in the previous elections in Kenya, somebody said "Sina maoni," and that became the part of the memes and people now use. So through our gestures, through everything we do, say, we are always communicating. The question is, do we take some time to think about the impact of everything we say or do? Do we take time to evaluate, to digest the possible action, the possible result of whatever we are going to say? And that is important for each and every one of us, whether you're just speaking to a colleague in the office or you're speaking to children or whoever, because you're always leading, you're always influencing some people, and therefore you do not have to be in any leadership position. Everyone is leading. If not anybody else, it is yourself. What you speak to yourself could also matter. And maybe at this point, I'd also like to ask, we recently saw some survey, yes, and I shared it also in our WhatsApp group, where it was being claimed by a very reputable firm, a survey firm, that consultancy firm, that 83% of the workforce in Kenya or employed people are just there. They are not committed to their work. What do you think is the problem? What do you think is the problem if that could be true? Yes, any reaction to that? What could be the case? Why would that happen? Yeah, anybody would like to comment on something? You can put it in the chat. Bad leadership at their work, that is Kinyili. Yes, thank you.
I can attribute it to communication, and it's good you asked it, because at one time those are the questions you ask. By the way, why am I in this employment? To earn a living or to contribute? So if you are there only to earn a living, you will not be committed. You will just be doing that bit that at the end of the month will give you what you earn. And it means the leader didn't communicate, has not made you feel convinced that it's a contribution. So that message is not relayed well. It's halfway the purpose of the company you are working for. That is my understanding.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think,
Yes. Yes, Teresa.
I think most employers are not, they don't value their employees. They are quite selfish. So once employees realize that they are not at the employer's heart, so they become demoralized, and there is also a lot of harassment and bullying in the institutions. So most people will stick there because they have nothing else to do, maybe just to get some money to make them survive, but not necessarily because they are passionate about working. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Most employers are selfish. Yeah, they only think about themselves. Yes, that is yeah, an opinion. Yes, somebody has said that is LC, leadership style employed by the leader. Transactional, yes, transactional. Bad leadership at workplace, lack of motivation. Now that is important. Lack of motivation to the greater vision of the organization. Yes, you are also probably, if you are working in an organization, you must think about whether you are part of the 83% or you are part of the 17%. And the question is why? Yes, most times there has not been inspired action. They are not inspired to feel like they are part of the bigger goal. They are just there for, as Elsie says, transaction. They are just there to give as little as possible so that they are not chased away, and their employer, as Teresa says, will also give them just as little so that they don't run away. So it's a marriage of convenience. It is everyone trying to cheat each other, and all can be traced back to how we communicate, how we relate, how we bring people together. And that can only happen through communication. Imagine that if you are an employer, that 83% of your employees are just there. Now, what if you could just improve that to 50%? That 50% of them will be able to be productive. Yes, and what is it that you will need to do? Perhaps you need to start learning something about how can you inspire them to be able to see the bigger picture, to own the process, and to be able to contribute to their marks. Yeah. So basically, leadership will always determine the magnitude of work, the result that's going to be obtained. And this, many times, like now Teresa has said, sometimes it is through people just try to bulldoze people. You cannot force people to do anything. You cannot force them to perform. Performance is never forced. Perhaps only in school, but even in school, that's why pupils end up quitting school or not doing any better. After that, they hate school, they don't want anything to do with it, and they don't do much better in life. You see, so we must learn that there is no way we will force productivity. Yeah, I'm reminded about this story about the wind and the sun trying to gauge who is more powerful, who will force an old man to be able to remove his coat. And they are in a contest, and the wind says, I can do it. Let me go first. And the wind blew, tough wind. Yeah, you can imagine those stubborn winds. And blowing strongly, the stronger it became, the tighter the old guy held onto his coat. But after some time, the wind stopped, and then the sun said, okay, now let me take that chance. and the sun just heated a little, and as the book says, smiled on the old man. And the old man removed his jacket and hung it somewhere, because the old man felt like he wants to remove his jacket, his coat. The other person, that is the wind, was forcing it. Yeah, I'm also reminded of this story where a child was resisting something, and then the parent, his parent forced him. He was supposed to sit down, so he was resisting to sit down, and it was a fight. And then finally, when he sat down, he told the parent, even when I am sitting down and you see me sitting down, deep inside me, I'm still standing. How do you do that? So let's know that if we are going to be timeless, we are going to be timeless first and foremost through how we communicate. And there are just a couple of principles that I will share this morning. Yeah, remember we've talked about action and activity. Activity is a result of emotion. I actually wonder how those things always get to relate, because people can act better when they are feeling inspired, they are emotionalized, they feel some urge within their heart that they want to do something great. That can only happen not intellectually, but emotionally. And therefore, it means we've got to start learning how to speak to people through their hearts. We must learn to talk to them in their hearts. And that brings us to principle number one, which I'll share, and it's called principle of sensitivity. Let's be sensitive. Let's know that we are dealing with human beings. We are dealing with human beings with feelings. And if those feelings are hurt, they will never produce. If those feelings are hurt, they will never produce. And that is when they start thinking about the next opportunity. Actually, that survey was talking about people looking for next opportunity. Yes, most of those people, and because they are not able to get, they surrender and sit there and say, well, let's wait. You see, why? Because they don't feel part of that system. They feel like they don't belong. Actually, a survey had said that 80% of the people who quit the organizations, they quit the people, they quit the leaders. It's not the pay. Enough times people think it is the pay. It is not the pay. In fact, many times people volunteer and work for free without any pay at all. Why is that? And yet they even live where they are paid more. It is not the money. You see, so the moment we learn as leaders that we are dealing with people with feelings, people who are human in all sense. Yeah, I'm told my network is lagging a bit. I'm not so sure about that, what I can do about that, but probably we'll do with what is there. Yeah, so we've got to appreciate that these people that we have feelings, and so we've got to be sensitive about one, the person we are communicating to. We tend to, in many cases, generalize people. The way I'm dealing with Noel is maybe the way I'm going to deal with Antonia, is the way I'm going to deal with Christine, maybe Olale. Those are all different people with different thoughts, different feelings, different opinions. And so as leaders, every relationship is unique. You try to make relationships as unique as possible, because every relationship is unique. Those are not the same people. And so you'll realize that the jokes that make sense for one may not make sense for another. And so it's your work to know whom they are and how you're going to communicate with each and every one of them. And now you've got to know the information that is meant for general audience and the information that is meant for private discussion. Yeah, I've seen leaders criticize their team members in public, you are shooting yourself at the foot. We've got to know that when you want to correct people, and I'm not using the word criticize for deliberately, you correct them in private, and you've got to know how to do it. It's always something to sandwich. You speak of all the good they're doing, and then you speak of how better it would be. The word is better. How better it would be if other things would also be changed, and something like that. And it should be a conversational. As a leader, you are a mentor. You are helping people to grow. You are building them to become their best. And so you're not going to bring them down. Yes, but you're going to help them to grow. So don't penalize people in public. And I've seen this more so in schools. The principals are just very, I think, fearful or feared people. Their staff, members of staff, don't make a comment in front of them. Why? Because it's just a command, and like a military camp. You can't inspire lots of action from that. It becomes really hard. It's better to, it's always adding more value to make people on the process and to let them feel valued, feel wanted, and feel appreciated. And many times people think they just need money, which is not the case. So we've got to learn what information is meant for which people or who, when, where, how should it be delivered. Yeah. The other thing that we've got to take care of is the principle of hope. Or every other time we are speaking in public or we are speaking with our team, when we communicate desperation, then not much is going to happen. We've got to communicate solution, no matter how it appears outside there. We must give that hope that things are going to be better. And whether we have the solution or not, we will look for it until we get it. Yes, I remember, and it's something I've put in the other book, that during some of our team meetings with my business organization so many years back, one of our leaders would always work on a particular communication system that was a projector until either the meeting was over or the meeting or it is repaired. And this is the same person who told me at one point, don't worry, we will tweak it, we will tune it, just like aerials during the analog days. You would try turning them and fine-tuning them until they work. We will tune it until it works. Whenever a leader gives consolation and gives hope, people get that hope. Whenever a leader catches cold, people catch that cold. And in fact, people will always imitate everything you say. In fact, your language, the way you speak, your team will always speak like you do. I always got amazed by this fact. I realized, by the way, that when a leader, an inspiring leader, is speaking the way you speak, including the grammatical mistakes that you make, your team will make them. It amazes me, but that's what I learned, that that happens. That's the way it works. You see, so we've got to know that before we speak, is this something that is going to make somebody feel better, or it's going to make them feel depressed? If our team members are depressed, there is no value we're going to extract from them. Yes, we will not achieve much. The other thing I'd like to say is benefit of the doubt or accuracy. When people are speaking and you're giving them audience, don't be judgmental. Don't come up with a preformed opinion. It's always good to listen with an open mind, giving benefit of the doubt. Don't come with, this person is usually like this. This person is usually late and always has excuses. It's good to give an open-minded audience. You're listening keenly and giving benefit of the doubt. until perhaps you have enough evidence to rule out that. Very, very important. I've seen leaders setting fire. By the way, if a leader sets fire, things will burn. That's just the principle. That's how it works. You see. So somebody may come up with something, an excuse or otherwise, even if you know it's an excuse, and you are talking in a group, you do not have to pin them down. You do not have an idea. And more so in today's world where we have a lot of mental health issues, it's important to give benefit of the doubt if somebody can just come and talk to you, because coming to talk to you is first of all an achievement. Many times there are leaders who will not get people going to talk to them because they are unreachable, they are unapproachable, disobeying the first principle of leadership, at least as far as I'm concerned, which is approachability. If people can't approach you, you are not their leader. They will, the person they can approach with their problems, that is their leader. You see, and that's why it's always claimed that he's climbed the ivory tower. He cannot come down. And then many times that, please climb down and feel the people and walk with the people. So we've got to be people who can be approached, and we give undivided audience. We listen to them and give benefit of the doubt, devoid of all our prejudices. The other thing I'd like to say is always let's think of the intended result. Sometimes I ask, what is the end game? You know, people are bickering and fighting and exchanging. The question is, what is the end game? Yes, is the end game that we are united and working together, or that we chase somebody away? You see, that survey that I was talking about, I was just imagining, if that is what happens where we have financial incentive, how about where we do not have financial incentive? Yeah, it's much harder to get that productivity to that level, beyond 17%. And so it will take some ingenuity. It will take some sincerity of the leadership. It will take some openness in order to be able to accomplish that. And so we cannot afford a fight unless, to me, I see that as perhaps only possible in politics. And even in politics, you'll see that they are fighting today, and then the other guy goes the other side and becomes even a bigger pain on the other side. You see. So it's good for us to remember what is the intended result. It's good to think about, before we say something, will I be able to stand by this in the future, or I will change my mind? Yes, is it something that I stand for, or it's influenced by somebody else? Is it something that I believe in? Yeah, sometimes we may just utter words that do not really resonate with our values. So we've got to think about what is it that, what values do we stand for? And therefore, whenever I speak, is this something that I can stand for the following day? Because there is nothing as embarrassing as having to swallow your words the following day, because you are speaking so boldly and you are accusing somebody and bringing them down, ripping them off, only to realize that you are wrong all along. And many times, because of our level of ego, we do not want to say, I was wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, we just want to justify. And that is really bad. That's terrible. You see, so it's good to see a reason to believe. I always talk about a reason to believe. Do you have a reason to believe that which you want to say, or that which you believe? And the other thing is, do we have to speak all the time? When should we speak and when shouldn't we speak? Yes, if you are supposed to speak, you should speak. And you better know what to say, how to say it, and whom to tell it to. When we are not supposed to speak, we are not supposed to speak. Sometimes when I'm running such sessions, I say, if it is not necessary to say it, it is not necessary to say it. Yes, you don't have to speak it, you don't have to speak it. Just keep quiet. By the way, when people are in a debate as a leader and people are debating a particular point, the moment you speak, that ends that debate because yours becomes law. It's good for a leader to know the weight of your words. They can become law. People take them literally. You see, so if people were still debating on, oh, will we go to Naivasha or Laikipia or Mombasa, and they are still debating and even trying to vote, then you come up and say, we are going to Mombasa, then that's the end of the story. You've ended the participation. You see, so let's be sensitive when it comes to that. What time are we supposed to speak? And that reminds me something that was going around. I got it on social media and I put it in the book, When to Be Silent, which is what I will read right now. And then I end so that we can ask questions and interact. In the meantime, you can put your questions even in the chat, if any. When to be silent, when you don't have to, when you don't have all the facts, stay silent. When your contribution won't add value to the discussion, keep silent. If no one will consider your contribution worthwhile, better keep silent. And that's why your team members will always keep silent, because you come with an iron fist. Yeah. If you have said it enough times, keep silent. This has always been my principle. I will try to tell somebody or to share with them my thoughts. I share a couple of times. They insist on their way. I keep silent. And when trouble comes, I just keep silent because I know I did my best. See, so keep silent. If your utterance might cause unnecessary friction, please keep silent. If your words will cause unreasonable pain or shame to someone else, keep silent. This is something that we all need to know. We must try to save face. We must try to keep people valued, feeling valued. Yes? So our words do not need to cause pain. If you are unsure of what you are going to say, keep silent. If the final authority has spoken and closed the discussion, keep silent. That is what I was talking about. If you might regret your words later, keep silent. If your statement will deny others opportunity to air their views, keep silent. And that is very good for a leader. And that's why I was saying the final authority, your word is like law. You will deny some other people an opportunity to speak. An opportunity to speak. So we must be people who are sensitive. Generally, I think that is the central idea. We know when to keep silent, when to speak, and even how to say it. I'd like to end it with this particular paragraph. It's about the hope by the word. Notice that as a leader, your word can give hope or destroy, and hope is what most people need from a leader. It is said that people may survive for several days without food, but not without hope. Even those who survive in extreme conditions like the United States SEAL team, their main reason, if you can find out, for making it through such ordeals is hope. The mere hope that things are going to be better. And you must give this hope by your word of mouth, or at least in a letter written to your people. Your team, however, needs to hear words of hope from you every so often. As at psychological levels, it is easy to see that hope alone can make a situation more bearable and solutions come relatively quicker. There is a quote there: words empty as wind are best left unsaid. And I end it there. I'd like to have, if any, some questions or interactions. We have like 10 minutes. Yes. A question about communication strategies for or principles for leadership that will make you timeless. Are you inspiring to your team? Why do they stick to you? Is it because you pay them? Why are you there? Is it because you are paid? Yes, you can share in experience, you can share a thought.
Let me do, what do I say? Just to reiterate on what you said earlier, that our followers or the people we lead, you know, they get the vibes from you or as a leader. So sometimes you just need to have confidence and show courage even when the situations are difficult. So yeah, just it's to affirm what you have said, that I've seen it in my own life, that even as a leader in the house, even when the situations are tough, you have to give a picture that everything is under control, because in the moment you tremble, then everybody disperses. So just to agree with the presentation today, and as you asked when we began about timeless leadership, again, in my opinion, it is those skills that you gain that will help you to grow through your whole lifetime, not just in a particular organization, but are those skills that can help you to survive under different circumstances. Others, thank you very, very much. This has been very, very inspiring. And it's good to have this book again, you know, after a long period of break. So I think it will also be great to go back to the chapters again. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, it's always important. I've always given this example that if you are the head of the house and then some people come banging the door and knocking, forcing you to open, yeah, with all your family members there, your children, and then you are the first person to run under the bed. You can imagine that situation. And that is what happens in many cases unawares. We've got to be the people to show hope, to show courage, and to take it upon ourselves to ensure that the right communication, the right temperature prevails in a team. The moment it's not about saying, let's work together, it won't work. It's not about wishing. It's not about, the question is you've got to give people the reason to be able to do that, because you cannot force them. They can only do it when they wish to. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good. Now it's yes, when to be silent. A question: as a leader, is it proper or wise to just keep quiet and just get the insights from the subject? Yeah, I like that word. You see, you've got to cause an opinion. You've got to have, many people talk of they have open door policy, but it's never there. I talked about being approachable. You've got to be approachable in that people are willing to come and even share with you something that may have passed you, you may not have known. So things don't happen right under your nose without knowing. I remember when Orengo James was the Minister for Lands, and then Grand Regency was sold and it became Lyco Regency. And they kept saying, this thing happened right under my nose. I did not know. How can that happen if you are in touch with your people? It can't. But if you are unapproachable, if you are mounting an ivory tower, then you will not be told. So the question is, how free are they to share with you, or they see you as some military person? Number two, it's good to create an opportunity for people to share. And that could happen in a meeting, sort of. There are people who always want to be viewed as leaders and they like these big titles. Yes, sir, yes, madam, whatever. You just give things, orders, and people take. They will not be free to share. You've got to give them an opportunity that they share, and it should be encouraged without judgment. And that's why we said no prejudice, no judgmental attitude. And you don't, you can also give a suggestion, but know when to give a suggestion, because then more so if they fear you, they may not contradict what you've said. But you can't just keep silent. You've got to know when to speak. And that's why we said there is wisdom in knowing when to speak and when not to speak. You see, if you don't speak, you don't speak, people are longing to hear from you. They want to know your stand. That becomes a problem. You see, then you are causing them to thirst for information from you. During the 2007-2008 post-election violence, people wanted to know where Kalonzo is, where Ruto is, where Raila is. They were all in one camp, but many times they were not speaking. There were some other people who were left out speaking. And people were wondering, are they still there? Are they killed? Whatever. They are worried about their leaders. It's good to know when to speak. You don't just keep silent. Yes. When something big happens, you've got to take time, digest it, and come and give a speech. I remember during the Twin Towers attack, you see, it was necessary that the president of the US, that was Bush, to come up and give some statement later. But if it goes without a speech, without some communication from the president, people feel like they're lost. Something is wrong. Where is he? What is he thinking? And things like that. Sometimes just by speaking, you give people consolation and some comfort. Thank you for that question, Kevin. I hope it was answered. Okay, great. I think we are good to go. It's good to remember that we have a meet and greet. All these people with whom we've been meeting online, we have a meet and greet this Saturday, this coming Saturday. And if you are not in the in the bus already, better be. I hand it over to Antonia. Guys, and the other thing I'm forgetting is we have Live Your Dream has organized some training for women who are running businesses. This one is in collaboration with the International Labour Organization, their Institute for Training, for training, and then there is a program they've come up with called Women in Digital Business. Meaning they've just branded it so, but they want to empower women to be able to run their businesses making use of technology. So if you've not considered it and you are running a business either as the manager or the owner as a woman, then this is your opportunity to join in. Please chat with us.